It's not just about recruiting, it's also about collaborating across national borders. So that's our second topic of this afternoon. How do you onboard and engage remote workers? And that's not an easy job. We have some people present with a lot of experience in that field. And I'm very happy to introduce you to Peter in English, Peter de Buck from Connecting Expertise, and he brought a best practice case from ING Bank. Didier Dekeyzer is CPO at the bank at ING, and so Didier, also very warm welcome to you. You will, both of you together, elaborate on collaborating with a global workforce in a remote world. So I imagine you at the bank already have a lot of experience with remote workers finding and collaborating across national borders.
I managed to convince Didier to join us in the discussion, so thank you, Didier, for doing this. He's one of our customers, and he's the Chief Procurement Officer at ING Bank in Belgium. And I am one of the co-founders of Connecting Expertise, next to two other technologies that we have. So, Didier?
Yes, Peter, thank you. Maybe just to show you some figures as a procurement, it's always interesting to give you some figures and amounts. But I think we have at the bank today more than 1,200 contingency workers, named also at the bank in Belgium as externals. We split that in two different things, the IT externals and non-IT externals. Why? Because on the procurement side, there is a different strategy that we apply. We have a multi-tier source model. Tier 1 in the IT world is more than the we name that the system integrators. So we have 3 contracts with big companies that are proposing a lot of onshore and offshore things. And then tier 2 and tier 3. Tier 3 is really a niche with specific profiles that mostly are then profiles that we are searching on a local basis. For the tier 1, we try to push, of course, more and more to go on the offshore part. That's also a topic that you can see below on the right side on the spend evolution. You see there is a decrease. The decrease is not only because we are trying to reduce the number of people, but also try to offshore more those people. And in the non-IT, it's a little bit different, more different. It's difficult to have a centralized list of profiles, and the needs are very specific. So most of the time, it's more for the moment, on a local basis that we are searching. That's a little bit the status on the on ING.
Yeah, is it also probably it's also something to do the marketing and finance expertise that you're looking for are more local requirements, while the IT requirements that you have are more generic?
Yeah, the IT, of course, IT, we can standardize the profiles that we need in IT. And one of the things is also important is that in IT, we can go to all the world. Of course, the part of the world that is speaking in English, because the IT is it's easy, and the Dutch and French part of German part that we have in Belgium is not always needed. It's not really needed. So that's the easy part, to have a very good strategy. If you go to the non-IT, there you see that first of all we have different profiles, and you said marketing, but of course a lot of other finance, other procurement people. Those people they need always also to have 1 or 2 local languages that they know. And I say 1 or 2 because it's French and English, or it's Dutch and English, or it's French and Dutch, and then also English. So that's more difficult to find in the rest of the world.
That's one of the challenges of working with non-local people are the language skills, of course. Huh?
Yeah, and we have also ourselves part in the other part of the world, teams that are working for us, so we can also outsource not directly to other suppliers, but in the ING Manila, or we can also go to ING in Poland. But one of the main issues that we have there is not the knowledge about the things that we ask them, is about the language, and be sure that they understand sometimes also the Belgium specificities. And then I'm thinking in the finance part, if you want to outsource some activities in finance, and then you try to a Polish or to a guy in the Philippines to explain the specificities of the Belgium tax rules, I think it's a huge work to explain them that, and I hope that they understand why in Belgium the tax rules are so complex. So that's that we see that we have some specificities that we can't outsource and can't send out to other parts of the world.
Didier, if I may interrupt you, because one of the questions in the chat earlier was from Anik. Is it feasible to have a recruitment team abroad? So you do at ING have recruitment teams spread all over the world.
Yes. Yes.
And maybe you're not involved, I don't know, in your role, but yeah, how difficult is it to set that up? You already elaborated on, yeah, that it's all sometimes difficult to bring all the requirements to their understanding. Do you have any other tips or tricks in how this works? Would you suggest for Sejeka to set up a recruitment team abroad?
My question was also, we have recruitment teams abroad, but to hire in their local country. But is it also feasible to put, for example, in Romania, recruiters to hire in Belgium or in Italy or in the Netherlands?
Okay, yeah.
If I may, just about that, I think at a certain moment we try to outsource that part, the recruitment, and outsource that and send that to Poland. I think after 1 year, we saw that it's really difficult to have that part of really recruitment for the local countries located in one part of the world. So that's something that we came back and we said, no, that part we need more on the local market and continue on the local market, because the specificities are very difficult to explain to Polish guys in the case of ING, and yeah, that makes always a difficult point when we see some proposals coming in, and we had a lot of discussions about that. Okay. So, but for the rest, implementing that in other countries, I'm sorry, I was not involved in how they were implemented in Poland.
Yeah, I can imagine. Anybody else who wants to join on this conversation and share experience or best practices or tips
if I may, we have actually shared hubs across the whole world. So also in Manila, but also in Gdansk, for example, in Poland, because there are really some good universities there. So we have a really good level of recruiters. With a very high level of English speaking, but also 15 other languages. But if I can advise, of course, it's always a bit the chicken and the egg. So is it hard to set up such a team to also source locally? Yes, it is. It is a process of a couple of years. So you really need to have enough volume to really make it work. But what we would advise more is that if you look at teams like that, in-house or out-house, to more use them from a sourcing, identification, shortlisting, long listing, shortlisting perspective, and then actually make sure that those shortlists has enough quality to then actually transfer to your local teams, for example. So you can really make them as efficient as possible, where they have a whole list of people that they can connect to, but they already know that the ratio will be quite high. Because what you don't want is your very high expensive recruiters in Belgium, for example, that they need to start from scratch. So you can also have a bit of an in-between solution. And I see Mr. Dekeyzer, Didier, nodding his head. So I hope what I'm saying makes sense here, but that I would advise as a first step to explore. And again, Romania can be an option, but yeah, you really need to look at so many parameters, also mobility and all that stuff, and future things to really decide where you're going to set it up if you want to do it.
Okay. I don't know, Caroline from Silverfin, if you're going to elaborate a little bit on this later on.
Yeah, I definitely can. And maybe just on this point, I think in the past, on this point, the past 10 years, I have been working in a structure where we have a centralized talent acquisition team who were also doing the recruitment of people in other countries. And I think, like Elke mentioned, I think it's more like aligning on the hiring process and what the role of the recruiter is in first instance. But I think they definitely can have a meaningful role there. So it's definitely can work. I see a lot of advantages even to do it in this way.
All right.
And which are the advantages that you see then?
Well, I think it's also interesting that they, if you have a really fragmented team, I think for the business, it's sometimes difficult that they have to check in with a lot of recruiters. So if you really have one recruiter centralized who can do recruitment for the different countries, then you can see that they're really aligned with the business and that there's really a partnership that's working really well, and which is also beneficial for the outcome of the recruitment process.
It's really teamwork that way.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. I can imagine that, they can set up a process of continued improvement and really, strive for better results time and time again. Yeah, absolutely. All right, thank you. Didier, I'm sorry I interrupted you. Please go ahead with your interesting.
I think I fully agree with the fact that outsourcing the complete process, that's why I think we had an issue there. Outsourcing so part of the process can certainly help, and then also a standardization of the needs is also very important. We saw that when we outsourced to a team, a central team, and every country came with a need, but a very specific need with a lot of different questions. You saw that those people there were not able, and of course not able to answer all the different needs. Because when you are searching a certain profile with certain specific skills, you then have a lot of different also needs that you need to take into account for that country, and that make it very difficult to go to a centralized team. I think one of the things that I also want to discuss or to have or maybe to put on the table there is, of course, a bank. We are going to the digital world. And on an accelerated speed. That means that we see also that we need different profiles, different skills, people that are really on using the last technologies, and that's also something that we see that is the world is moving. We are saying, okay, it can be Manila, but tomorrow we see that some other parts of the world are, of course, now busy to also be very strong in the new technologies. So we need to follow those technologies. That's also a point that we need to do. And then one of the interesting topics is the COVID. And I don't want to discuss about what's happening in all the countries and the status of Belgium and so on. But the fact that we are pushed to work at home, we saw that the mindset of a lot of people, and of course using Teams or Zoom or all the technologies, we put a lot of money in those technologies, and we see that the mindset of the people and the managers at the ING is also thinking about, we don't need people near us anymore. We need someone that is doing the job, and someone that we can call him or her and then have the discussion. In the past, we saw, and that's why we have a lot of onshore people for the moment, still, that's the people, we need to see them. We need to have them in the same room. We see that thanks to the COVID, there is a change, and I think it's not finished, and we will need to review the way that we are going to source in the future. That's and I don't know if this is something that is also that other people also see.
Well, I think you can turn it around and say we don't need to source within, let's say, 50 kilometers from the office. The world is now open to source talent from. No?
That's what we see that is coming. Yes.
Yes.
More and more, and that and that's part of the change. And of course, it's when we are saying a change, people that ask people to change. Some are very fast, the early adopters, and then you have people that, of course, take a little bit more time to change. And then we're thinking about how we push those people and show those people to change faster, because now it's not needed anymore to have someone that is coming to the office 1 or 2 days a week, that you can just see that person. It's not needed anymore. And we are doing, sometimes we are using some examples because at ING, we are in the summer period, we were also able to work 2 or 3 weeks from our holiday space, and it was not taken as a holiday. So that means that also internal people are not located anymore in Belgium, if you want. So the mindset is there. It's not more contingency people, it's internal, it's all a team, and the world is your office tomorrow. But it's coming. It's not yet there. And I think as a procurement manager, I need also to see how we can push that and source better in the future. And I think the location like Manila and so on that we are using tomorrow, we are using the world. It's not more where is it located.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, the funny thing is that at NextConomy, if you look or you type in the search engine place on the right hand side, the top hand right side, you put in NASA, NASA, from the airspace organization in the United States. Then you can find an article that we put on NextConomy, I think a year and a half ago, that they have been working with remote teams ever since 2006. So that's 15 years ago. And they create new technologies, very innovative toolings, etc., with complete remote teams from all over the world, already for 15 years. So it's not new. There's been
no, it's not new, but I think
doing this for years. Yeah.
Yeah, but Ali, I think in the bank, I think the idea was there, but thanks, and that's maybe something that we can say a positive thing on the pandemic, is that the idea, it's not an idea anymore. It's real.
Yeah.
And we need to do it. So
Yes.
in a few months, we switch from, okay, we will do it, we will go to that, and we build some milestones to reach that, and we see that those milestones are all squeezed in. Oh, the pandemic is there, we need to do it tomorrow, and then you see that we are able to do it, and we see that just implement a lot of, of course, software and connectivity, because that was not fully implemented, but in a few days we implemented all those technologies to connect more and better, and then we are able to see the world as a source, and not more just say, okay, all those things that we put in the demand when we are searching someone, the languages was one, but also the location, the fact come to the office, that part will disappear tomorrow. It's for some people now not needed anymore, still for some recruiters in the team, but tomorrow I think this will disappear completely. And then, of course, the war of talent. If you go to source to the world, then you have a lot of concurrence and people that are also searching the same talents in the world. So it will be very interesting to see how we can take the best ones for our company. And that's also a point that we are, I think, thinking about and what we need to do to be sure that the talents are coming and working for us. And also, of course, that they are not after some weeks, some months, going to another company, another bank in the world, and not more in Belgium. And that's also something that we where we think about how we will do it and what we need to do to be sure that we keep the talent in-house.
It's an interesting point, the fact that we can source in other countries, but also the talent has more access to other opportunities. So probably the switching cost and the switching hour, switching time, switching cost will be taken into account also, and will be higher.
It can be higher, or we need to switch that to go to please, we don't need to be linked anymore to the people. We need really to see how we can then document the things that they need to do and so on, and then say, okay, if there is a switch, it can be also something we send all the information, and that person in a few days is again on the level to say, okay, I can continue the work that was done before by another colleague. So that's something that we need to think about. And in the world,
driven than people driven.
Sorry?
It's more task driven than people driven.
Yep.
Power to the people, huh? I see Jan Willem raised his hand. Jan Willem, you have a question?
Yes, regarding to this sourcing model. So agreed with everything is said already, but my question is, and I'm still struggling sometimes with that, is so basically you can source the world, but how do you, especially in banks, how do you have covered the local legislation part? I know your procurement, that's not legal, but you can sometimes you have really issues with compliance on local legislation, how you have covered that. Just a question about that.
Good question, thank you. Didier.
Yeah, I think if you ask me my priorities of procurement, I will not say first of all the procured spend and reduce the cost. The first thing at the bank is manage the risk and the compliance part. We are a regulated, of course, company, and those things are very important. So if we are taking some steps, outsourcing, searching people, it's always taken into account how we will manage those things. And of course, each country, and we are in Europe, but each country in Europe has specificities, and those specificities need really to be documented and followed up correctly. And that's also part of the task and the information that we need to give to people everywhere in the world to say about if it's for Belgium, you need to take this part into account more than in the Netherlands, more than in France, and maybe it will be the opposite for other topics. So those things we need to really document the differences and the needs for each countries. That's a difficult part. It's always easier if we have all the same processes and things to do, but we know here on a regulated part company that we need to take into account the specificities, the local specificities in all the discussions and the source that we are doing.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Maybe this will be touched upon later with one of our other experts. No, it's okay. I think it's a topic that you could address later on and elaborate on that further. Any more questions for Didier and Peter? I'm just looking at time and trying to manage time. I think there's a lot more to say. Didier, how would you like to finish this up and to wrap it up? One final thought?
I think that, first of all, thank you to invite me. I think it's
honored to have you.
it's a very interesting topic, and yeah, with the pandemic, like I said, it's coming on the top level of the discussions to say, okay, can we really review the way to source, the way to find people and best people and talent people, and then of course, how can we keep those people? So it's a very hot topic at our side, and I think it's really interesting to listen to you about what's happening, and I think in the coming months we will continue to see evolution in that domain.
I see a question from Stephanie. Stephanie, I'm not sure I understand the question. What about the indexation of the profiles and the war of talent? Do you accept all indexations to keep the externals? Could you unmute yourself and maybe explain just a little your question?
Yes, indeed. Hello, everybody. Yes, my question is about indeed the indexation, as most of you have heard on the radio and in the press for the moment. So there will be a very big indexation for all employees, but that means also for the externals working for the suppliers with who we are working here. So I would like to know what is the strategy that you would manage now in the future, because I think all the extensions are being done for the moment concerning the externals. And what about also the war of talent linked to that? Because as we said before, yeah, there is that war of talent. It's very difficult to keep also the right profile. So what is the strategy? Is a strategy to accept all these indexations, to not to lose all these people, or what's the strategy, in fact, that you will manage now in the coming days, weeks?
Okay, so you're talking about wages and
Yes,
rate.
yes, yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Didier.
Yes, yeah. As a procurement guy, first of all, I will say I have a good contract. I negotiate the rates and most of the time try to avoid indexation in all those things. So when I have a contract, I will follow that contract and avoid all those discussions. I think we had very interesting discussions on the ExCo level in Belgium about cost reduction and how can we manage those things. So we ask a lot of things to our contingency people, extra holidays and so on, to reduce that cost. But of course, we decided also to say, if those people are coming with indexations or increase of their rates, we will have a look at what's the rate and the normal rate and the people that we can find on the market. And today, of course, the market is bigger than the market that that those people some months ago came in and more in the local market. Today, we will see what can we find on the global market, and if the rates are better, then we think about and we have a discussion with the business to say if the switch is feasible, and if it's possible. And for the main strategic, we will see it's a no, but we are really pushing at procurement to reduce the cost and to say the switch, we need to do it. And we need to, if that person is asking really an indexation and price, a daily price that is not really, it's higher than the market, then we go and we switch. And that's also a message that we give to the people to say, And I think for the local people, it's also something they need to think about it. They are not just fighting and people externals in Belgium. I think in some specific domains, they know each other and they know very good. The best, if you search some in specific domains, you can put the names on the table and they know all each other and they know what they can ask. If tomorrow we say, oh, you are not the only one anymore. We can go outside now, Belgium, we can go in the world, and we see there that there are also very talented people that can also bring some new ideas and another view on that project, on that development. So that's the message we try to give to, and of course it's my procurement role to manage the cost there and to have a view on that one.
Yeah. Who's driving your program? Is it procurement or HR?
I think it's both. You need to know, for the contingency workers, it's procurement. HR is focused on the internal people, and they are just only focused on the internal people. For the external people, it's procurement.
Okay.
So all that part is procurement activities.
So it's still two separate ecosystems. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Separate. I think we have a lot of discussions about that, and the strategy and the recruitment strategy of the world. I think it's also something that they are busy to discuss. So we discuss with them, because tomorrow, is it an internal or an external? The world is there. It's not more needed to have also searching internal that are living not so far from our home, from our head office. Because also with the mobility, the sustainability, not too far, guys, because you need to come with your bicycle and not more with the car. Those things, it's not needed anymore. We have teams. So if the best guy, the talent guy is on the other part of the world, if you can take that guy, it's an internal. And it can be an external also. So there, we have a lot of discussions about the same, we are following the same strategy there.
Okay. Thank you so much.